yet another episode of John Works Too Much. Today, we finished one job, and then we milled around and got a lot of pizza, and that's why I'm so fat right now. But we're about to do one of my absolute favorite things in the world, and I know what you're thinking. Bathtubs turn into showers? Yes, but you know what my very favorite thing is in the world? Working for people that really need it, that are grateful. I love it. It makes me so very happy, especially when it's like, this is a real need. You can tell this bathtub definitely needs some attention. So we're gonna take this out and we're gonna make this into a shower, and it's gonna help a family to have a better bathroom experience, which I'm super happy about. So do we have anything else we want to talk about? Hey, Elizabeth, how are you doing? We're filming. Yeah, it's okay. Anything else we want to talk about? I feel like I could be famous if more people knew about me. That's all I got. All right, we're gonna tear this thing up. Sometimes you're taking out a bathtub and you're like, oh, yeah, it looks like it needs some work. Is that a possum? It sure is. Is that a live possum? Hey, buddy. I'm sure you're probably terrified right now. I'm sorry. We'll get you. Hey, little buddy. It's time to go be free, all right? I'll let you go. Sit. Go on. There you go. Today you live. I'm sure you're terrified. Oh, hey there. So, remember yesterday there was a possum over here? That possum is not in possum heaven. At least not by our hand. Maybe a fox or a wolf or I don't know, a saber-toothed tiger or something got him, but we definitely did not get him. We let him live, and we were like, go in peace, my brother, but please do not stay underneath the tub anymore. So today I got to change out a door for a wonderful couple, and I got to know them, and it was just absolutely delightful. And then came over here and we had to get some tile and things like that. So we didn't really get an enormous amount of stuff done here because I started pretty late, about an hour ago. But we got green rock up, and then tomorrow morning we're gonna lay tile. And so I'm super excited about that. Now, because it's kind of getting close to dinner time, I want to tell you guys a dinner time story. Are you ready? I'm assuming that's a yes. Here's my dinner time story. One day, this little girl there was all these starfish were washed up on the beach, right? Just lining the beach everywhere. And this little girl is running up and down the beach, and she's grabbing one after another and slinging them into the ocean. And this man watches for a minute, and he walks up to her and he says, little girl, you're wasting your time. You will never save all those starfish. Why even bother trying at all? And then she gets sad because she realizes he's right. And she looks down and she sees this starfish gasping for water. You know, it's because they breathe water. And she gets sadder, and she picks it up and looks at it, and she throws it into the water, and she says, you might be right. I might not save all of them, but I bet that one appreciates it. And so then she went and just started throwing starfish back in the water. And sometimes life can be overwhelming, and sometimes we look and go, I can't possibly change everything in the world. And maybe you're right. Maybe you can't change everything in the world. But maybe you can help the person that's right in front of you. Maybe you can do the next right thing. Maybe you can just be there for somebody, listen to them, love them through a hard time. And I encourage you to do that, because that's how the world has changed. And sometimes problems seem monumental. For example, there are 57 million orphans in Africa. 57 million. There are 400,000 in America. There's 57 million in Africa. And you could look at that and be like, that's too much. I can't fathom ever conquering a problem like that. But some friends of mine started an orphanage over there, and they're like, we might not be able to save all of them. We're not going to save 57 million, but we have saved these 100. And that grows, you know, as time passes. And then they started a school over there, and they've affected just thousands of people. And not only have they affected that many people, but they've also taken that message to the next generation. They realized that they cannot change Kenya, but they can help to influence the generation that could change Kenya. And so they've given their entire lives, and they're beautiful people, I love them. They've dedicated their entire lives just to investing in people that could then change Kenya. And maybe that's the way it is with us. Maybe we can't change everything, but we change what we can right in front of us, and that inspires other people, and then it multiplies, and then before you know it, the world is a better place. So I encourage you on this Friday night at dinner time to do the next right thing. I love you guys. I'll see you later. All right, bye. Good morning. So today is another delightful day. Hopefully you guys have weekends off. I certainly don't, but hopefully you do, and you're going to enjoy it. So you've just got a couple more hours until work's over for the day. Anyway, so if you remember, the day before yesterday, there was a possum right here. But he is now free. He's a free-range possum, and so he's going to go over there and live out his days in peace and happiness with his family and eat snakes and whatever possums eat. But we took the tub out, we put the shower pan in, redid the drain, redid the faucet and the shower head. We made this bench. So benches are great, ladies, if you want to shave your legs or, I don't know, sit down in the shower, just like veg over your day or something like that. We also put pebblestone down on the floor, and a lot of times, I remember when pebblestone first came out, a lot of times people were like, I don't know if I want rocks on my feet, but it's actually very smooth. It comes in sheets like this. See how that is? And so it's very, very smooth. It's not rough on your feet or anything like that. So that's kind of a nice thing. So, Brooke, what do you want to talk about? Perfect. Middle names. Why do we have middle names? Does anybody know?
Nope.
I'm waiting, and nobody's responded yet. That's probably because you haven't seen it yet. That's fine. I'll go ahead and tell you. Okay, imagine way back in the day, like maybe you got cavemen or small tribes, villages, I don't know what, maybe American Indians, I don't know. Anyway, if you said John, everybody like that dude right there, and you're like, yeah, John. He's the only John around. But as time passed, and maybe the tribes grew to towns and bigger, right? Then you'd be like John. You're like John Carpenter or John Mason or John Farmer, and like it's John Farmer. That makes more sense. So because the women didn't have a trade, then the women would take on the name, and you'd be like, that's the farmer's wife. That's whatever. Somebody, I don't have a girlfriend, so a girl's name, Farmer, right? But then their children would also be the farmer's children, so they would have the last name of the father as well, because it made sense. But then when young girls got married and they then became the blacksmith's wife, then they would change their last name to Smith, because that would be the blacksmith's wife, and their old life was back behind them. But then you're like, but where does the middle name come in, John? Please tell us. I'll tell you. So, whenever somebody had an experience with God that was so astounding and so life-changing that they felt like the old person that I was is now dead and I am now a new creation, then they gave themselves a new name, or a lot of times God would give them a new name. So, Abram became Abraham. Let me think. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob became Israel, and then he had 12 sons, and those are the 12 tribes of Israel. Saul became Paul. Simon became Peter. There are lots of stories throughout the Bible where somebody was one person and they had a transformation in God and they became a new creation. The old person that they were is no longer. That person is now dead to them, because it's such a transformation that you wouldn't even recognize them. Yes, you can recognize their face and their body, but besides that, you're like, that is not the same person anymore. And so that was called their Christian name, right? Because Saul became Paul, Simon became Peter, and so on. Jesus renamed him. And so then what happened in 330 AD, Constantine was the last Roman emperor and the first Catholic pope, and he won He won a big victory because he had a vision and he put crosses on all this stuff. And when he did, he was like, the God of the Israelites is real. The Jewish God, Jesus, is real. And so at that point, he said, all of the Roman Empire is now Christendom. Therefore, everybody in the Roman Empire is now a Christian. And so these people were very used to, Caesar would say, worship Caesar as God or die. And they'd be like, I don't want to die, so I'm going to worship Caesar as God. And then some time would pass, they'd be like, you got to worship Zeus or these other gods that we've made up, or die. You got to worship this pig or die. And it was just implied that, like, whatever the emperor said, you do that or die. And so when he said, now you all worship Jesus, they're like, or die. Got it. And they're all like, we're all Christians now. So some time passed, and they're like, well, what about our babies? When they died, did they go to hell or did they go to heaven? They're like, good point. We should probably baptize them right off the bat. So then they started baptizing them. And then they were like, well, should they get a Christian name too? And they're like, yeah, they should, because, you know, now they're Christians. And so then we started getting middle names. So in other cultures, Muslims don't have middle names. Lots of other cultures don't have middle names. But in the Christian culture, so, you know, Western civilization, then we do. A lot of people just don't know why, and that's why, is because, you know, so for example, when I was born, my name was Sun Elk Shepherd Surefoot. because I was born on hippie commune. In 4th grade, I was adopted by my mom's 3rd husband, and I became John Joseph Tennell. So if I had not come from a Christian background, which personally I didn't, but then I'd just be John Tennell, the end. And Tennell means pimp ninja. If you go back to the original Greek and Hebrew, that's not true, it means barrel maker. But Joseph would be my born again name, my Christian name, right? So what's interesting about that is that Joseph was, Mary's husband, and Joseph also was one of the 12 tribes of Israel, one of the 12 sons of Israel, who saved the entire known world at the time. He saw visions, he was persecuted, he was almost killed by his brothers, put in a well to die, sold off into slavery. He was a slave for 2 years. Potiphar's wife came and tried to have sex with him, and he ran away, and she blamed him for rape, and he went to prison for that. And he just had a lot of hardship. But then, because of the place that he was put in, Pharaoh came to him and said, interpret my dreams, and he did. And because of that, they saved the entire known world at the time, and Egypt became the first world empire. So anyway, that's interesting. That's my middle name, but it really at the time meant nothing, but now kind of sort of does. So there's a bit of history for you. And then obviously this is good. We're going to do some other things today because the day's still early. And then we're going to come back here later and we're going to grout this. We're going to put in a laminate floor, because right now the floor is underwhelming. But if there's one thing I found in life, it's that you can take something that is maybe not its best, and you can make it beautiful and restore it. And that is one of my favorite things in the world to do, is to take something that most people look at and think that it's ugly, and see the potential in it, and put in the work, and then make it into something beautiful. So anyway, love you guys, hope you're having a great day. Bye. Oh, me? I'm just chilling. Now look, I'm not a mathematician, or however you say that word, but it's been, what do you think, broke like 7 minutes, 9 minutes, something like that. And if you just tilt down here, you'll see that, hallelujah. What was less attractive, we don't want to insult anybody, has now become much more beautiful. So we still have to put baseboards in and put the toilet back in and get some trim and stuff here, but quite a difference. And then I think we're gonna see if we can find some paint at my house and put this paint up here, because I think that'll make it more delightful. My question for you guys is this. In BC times, did people age backwards? Were they like, I'm negative 54, but then as they got older, then they'd be like, well, now I'm only negative 50, which really is kind of aging backwards, like Benjamin Button. Is that how it worked back then? And BC, does anybody know, is that before COVID? I don't really know. Get back with me, comment on this, let me know. Also, if you have any questions about anything, or you're just like, I wish you would tell me about fill in the blank, and it can be nonsense, I will answer literally any question. It may not be accurate, it may not even be trying to be accurate, but I'll definitely answer it. All right, love you guys. Oh, hey there. So, as you guys can probably tell, we did some work today. This morning, none of this tile was here. We did green rock yesterday, but none of this tile was here. We didn't have any of the floor done. We didn't have any of this floor done, and this is a new toilet and a new shower curtain. Brooke, do you like it?
I love it.
I love the fact that you love it. That makes my heart sing whenever people are grateful and happy and it's life changing. What else? We grouted today because it was dry enough. We did all the tile first thing and then had plenty of time to dry. I don't recommend doing that, but because I'm a professional, we deemed that it was okay to do that. So the grout's done. So I want to talk to you about the fact that we don't see the world the way that the world is. We see the world the way that we are. And I know you're thinking, that's not true. But it is true. Allow me to elaborate. If you see a person that sees the world as a horrible place that's filled with terrors and filled with people trying to get them, that is the way that they will act. And that is the way that the world will look to them. They will focus on those things all the time. And that's not a great life. If you see somebody that is happy all the time, that is looking at the positive things in life, that is looking at all the good things in their life, that's because, so they see the world that way, but that's because that's the way that they are. Like in their heart, that's the way they are. The Bible says that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And I think that whatever is in us, we can hide it for a little while, we can act, but after some time passes, what is inside of us is going to come out. And if you look and you're like, man, all the stuff that comes out of me is mean and just hateful and fearful or anxious, like maybe it's time to change who you are, like to do some serious work to remodel the inside, not just the outside. if you see the world as a beautiful, happy place that you can make a difference in, that yes, there are problems, but you get to be the light in that world, hey, then I think that's a beautiful thing, right? And then you will look around and you'll see that the world is that way. I remember when I started doing drugs, this was a very long time ago, when I was very young, I started doing drugs and I realized that everybody, everywhere that I met did drugs. I had no idea before that, but like everywhere I was like, man, these lawyers are doing drugs and these old people are doing drugs, and these cops are doing drugs, and people in school are doing drugs. Everybody was, just because that's what I was looking at, right? When I became a Christian, I noticed like, wow, there are Christians everywhere, like everywhere I go, the grocery store and the gas station and just everywhere that I go, because that's what I was looking for, right? That's what was inside of me. And so I recognized that because all this stuff is all around us all the time, but we recognize what's inside of us. And so if you look and the world is a scary place or a place that you don't want to be in, maybe you ought to change what's inside. And I know, look, I understand, believe me, I took a 180 in my life. And I know how hard it is to do that. It is not an easy thing, but it is definitely worth it. And so if you're in a bad place, I highly recommend that you do anything in your power to get in a good place. And if it's something you're like, this is too much for me to handle by myself, you don't understand, get in touch with me. I'm not that hard to get in touch with. I answer every phone call, every text message, every email, every Facebook message, everything. I'm not that hard to get in touch with. Get in touch with me and I'm happy to help. All right, so we got to go touch up another job because it's still early. I hope you guys enjoy your Friday night, and we'll come back here and maybe caulk some stuff. And Brooke's going to come back and paint because she's a wonderful person, and I'm so excited that we got to do this for you guys. All right, love you, bye.